Welcome to the Korea Society. Like the foundation role of butter in French cooking or olive oil in Italian cuisine, Jangs stand as the cornerstone of Korean cooking, infusing every dish with various flavors and complexity. Chef Mingoo Kang, often referred to as South Korea's best chef, invites readers on a gastronomic journey in Jang, the soul of Korean cooking. His first cookbook in English, this book lets the readers discover the deceptively simple yet utterly unique and complex Korean sauces. Mingo Kang is the chef and owner of Mingles, located in Seoul, which has been named one of Asia's 50 best restaurants and holds 2 Michelin stars. Joining him on stage are his two co-authors for the book, Joshua Davis Stein, the author of Cooking for Your Kids at Home with the World's Greatest Chefs. To me, he was a just dad, stories growing up with famous fathers, and the co-author of numerous cookbooks collaborating with chef Kwame Onwachi and Wilson Tang, among many others. And Nadia Cho, the founder of Jang Culture and Communication, which is dedicated to promoting Korean food in the United States. We are thrilled to welcome Juliana Son as the moderator for tonight's program. Juliana is a photographer and co-host and co-founder of K-Pod, a podcast featuring Korean Americans in arts and culture for Korean American Story. You will be able to ask your own questions later this evening. If you're joining us for the live webcast, please send your questions via email, artsandculture@koreasociety.org. Signed copies of Jang, the Soul of Korean Cooking, is available for sale tonight, and Mingoo has graciously agreed to personalize them after the program. And we would like to thank once again You and Me Books for handling the sales tonight. And finally, please join me in welcoming Chef Mingoo Kang, Joshua Davis Stein, Nadia Cho, and Juliana Son.
Thank you for coming, everyone. When I heard that there was a book on Jang coming out, I was immediately excited because I ate a form of Jang growing up in Korea or New Jersey pretty much every day. But I realized I didn't actually know that much about it. So it was in actually reading your book that I learned for the first time that Jang, kanjang, soy sauce, and doenjang, a form of miso paste, were actually products of Meju. They were made at the same time. Could you please tell us about the three jangs you write about in your book?
Yeah, Jang is Jang is a very important ingredient for Korean cooking. Gochujang is more famous than other two jang, chili paste. But 간장 and doenjang sometimes it calls as Korean miso or Korean soy sauce. But these days, a lot of the attention we get, a lot of international attention we get about Korean cooking. So I want to introduce about the jangs. 간장 and doenjang is the very important ingredient for Korean cooking. This is how we make 간장 and doenjang. First, we only have three elements, yellow bean and salt, water. Very simple element making jang. First, we boil soybean and complete cook, we mash, we make soybean block. And we hanging and nice the area and all enzyme and bacteria comes into the soybean block. That soybean block we call meju, and that meju we put in the salted water, 18% salted water for we live in the 90 days. After that, we divide that soybean lump is doenjang, soybean paste. Also, that salt water is coming 간장. So that process is very different with how Japanese make soyu and miso. So I want to introduce Korean jang. It's different with Japanese one. So those three jang chili paste gochujang is they have their own gochujang meju and chili powder, also gochujang meju powder and sticky rice puree that we mix. So we make the gochujang. Yeah.
So you're, oh, which,
Actually, as a producer, of course, srijang, 간장, 된장, gochujang is an ingredient, but also, one artisan told me that other two ingredients needed for making jang is a time and weather. I think that's very important, or really, introduce what is really philosophy behind the Korean food cuisine. So I think that's important to really talk about this jang. So that's why we have named the soul of a Korean cooking, and our title, came out.
I have a question about time coming up later on.
Mhm.
So you are a real, like, super knowledgeable on Jang now, but that wasn't always the case. And I think it's also true that just because we're Korean, it doesn't mean that we know everything about our culture and history of where these foods originated. Can you talk about when you first came to understand and be aware about Jangs, and what did you hope to share with your readers in this cookbook?
Yeah. First, when I decide to write about Korean cooking, I am think about what I have to introduce first. Also, I was thinking about when I start open my own restaurant, Mingles, 10 years ago, what I have to focus on. So, uh, the most of the experience, cooking experience is outside of Korea. But when I came back to Korea, when I opened my own place, I have to understand and studying about the Korean cooking. That time, I have to understand about Jang first. Also, my experience is in my experience is not only in Korea, in Spain and United States. So I want to use Jang not only for Korean cooking, for Western cooking as well. So at Mingles, I playing with the Jang, with the traditional Korean to modern technique together, or Western the food with the Jang, we playing together. And that time, I learned a lot about the Jang. Also, I have two teacher about Korean cooking. One is the Chef Joe. Other, she have work and studying. She have working in Korean cooking uh, for over 40 years. She teach me about Korean cooking. Also, Jongwan monk, she also teach me about the Korean temple cuisine. So while I'm learning about the Korean cooking from them, they already teach me the importance about Jang for Korean cooking.
Good. You talk about when you opened Mingles in 2014, and I'm going to read from your book. When I opened Mingles in 2014, my mission was to meld or mingle Western and Korean traditions. At the time, Korean fine dining really meant Korean chefs cooking Italian or French haute cuisine. Korean chefs cooking Korean food merited hardly any attention. What we were doing at Mingles was unique. Though I obviously incorporated elements and techniques from my years abroad, the heart of the cuisine was all hanshik. I was adamant about uplifting my own country's ingredients, techniques, and traditions, proving that hanshik belonged in the pantheon of the world's greatest cuisines. What made you want to focus so much on hanshik? And did you always know this was something that you were going to come back to?
Yeah, when I start cooking, uh, I don't know why, but I want to introduce Korean cooking to the world with my way. So that time I wanted to open my restaurant in outside of Korea, but while I'm staying in United States, also Europe, I strongly get feeling to wanna come back to work with the Korean local ingredient. Also, I want to work with the Korean artisan together. So there are many my friends running restaurant in New York. So, but I think my friend running the restaurant introduced very well to Korean cooking in New York City. So some people, some chefs have to be in Korea to working with the local artisan, also local produce together and introducing Korean kitchen with a new way. So many of my friends asking me, do you have a plan to come to here? But I said, no, I have to stay in Seoul, in Korea. Yeah.
So this brings us to a question for you, Nadia. You are the bridge for Korean food here to the States. And today you can find kimchi sold at pretty much any regular grocery store. And if you go to some, like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, you see gochujang flavored potato chips. And I think you may have had a big role in making that happen. Can you talk about your work and the changes that you've noticed in the recent years? Like, I don't know that if 5 to 10 years ago it would have been
No,
the
not
right
5
timing.
years, kind of
Yeah.
13 years
Yeah.
ago, I need to promote Korean food. At that time, especially even New York, better than other city, pretty much really Korean food. Well, even go to 32nd Street, a lot of Korean restaurant, but still there's kind of battle between who own the kimchi. Is Japanese, Korean, and then they use different spelling, KIMCHEE or I, even so it took sort of a long time, right now, no, maybe there's some, but it's totally kimchi is Korean. And then I pitch the journalist is kind of big outlet journalist. Why don't you introduce gochujang? But he said, oh yeah, but chili paste, so no chili paste. Please exactly name gochujang. I think that's important.
I see. Yeah.
Okay, 간장, 된장 is too early, but you need to name exactly gochujang. But after it took 5 years, kind of a lot of chefs really talk about gochujang instead of chili paste.
So, can you talk about your process? Like, you knew chefs, and you would bring up this ingredient, and then you would talk to reporters to try to educate them.
Yeah, I have a list, because I don't want to work with a very cocky Western chef because they are not appreciate Korean cuisine. So based on research, I list up the chef who have respect the Korean culture and Asian culture. So I approach them, let's go to Korea. Someone, I don't care, I'm not interested, I'm busy, but some chef, okay. And then after they love Korean food. And then after that, Nadia, I want to, make the episode for his show, and then I want to do other projects, really ongoing, really, so they become big supporter for Korean food. That's how we met Chongwa. We make, content, episode for Netflix, they are kind of, I didn't plan it, but kind of all the connection, after that, it happened.
So, it's changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Oh my God. In the 10 years ago, no. It's there for no Michelin Korean restaurant in New York. Now, last year, 11. It's big.
Very good. Joshua, I have a question for you. So
Cool.
you are a much in demand writer who collaborates with a wide range of chefs on their cookbooks. Kwame Onwachi and Donna Leonard of Il Buco are two that I can name. Could you talk about the experience of co-authoring these books, which are written in first-person voice of a Black man, a woman, and now an Asian man?
Yeah. Is the audio good for everyone? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I am a writer, and I think my role is generally, it's not my story that I'm telling, but I'm helping the authors tell their stories. This book was obviously, so I see my role as like supportive and sort of a little bit like a mechanic, like I don't work on my own car, but I drive it. This process was a little bit different also because it's kind of like I think for an American audience, it's a far out topic. And I think that was a lot of the concern about this book being made, and like who would it appeal to? Would it be too far out? So the fact that I I starting from this process, now I know a fair amount about Jang, but starting from the process, I was, as Nadia called me, I was like a white paper. Like, like I knew nothing. So in some ways, I was like a stand-in for an audience who might not be as familiar with Jang, or might not be familiar at all with Jang, but was curious about it. So it was like half that and half just knowing how to write books and helping Mingoo and Nadia tell their stories and how to structure a book, with it's a cookbook. So you have head notes, you have recipes, we have artisan profiles. There's a lot of, this was a complicated book as well because you don't eat just Jang on its own.
Yeah.
And you don't even, oftentimes you don't just use pure gochujang or whatever. There's a lot of sauces that you make and a lot of combinations of Jang and a lot of context that you needed before you could get to the recipes. So I think trying to come at that from like a very naive layman's perspective, I think that was like a value. I hope it was value.
No, you gave me a lot of homework every week.
Yeah, and I asked him a lot of questions.
Why?
Because there's a lot of educating you need to do in this cookbook, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think even for Mingoo and even for Nadia, we're the authors of the book. I think there's a lot about Jang. Especially if you are Korean or Korean American and you grew up eating it, there's some things you're familiar, but there's a lot that you take for granted. So, like your story as well about Meiju, it's like you didn't know where it came from. And then from an outside perspective, not only is Jang itself a complicated process, it's not that complicated. It's a process, right? But like the way hanshik is organized and the way a meal is organized and how in Korean cuisine, the way you build flavor is different from the way you build flavor in Western cuisine. So there's a lot of it's not hand holding, but it's like you can't get too deep too quickly because I think you'll lose a lot of people.
So since this is written in first person voice, and how did you translate Mingoo's voice onto the page?
Well, I always say with like all of the authors that I work with that it's like we make a word baby. It's like not my voice, and it's not purely Mingoo's voice or Nadia's voice. It's certainly not their spoken voice. It's a collaboration. And I think, well, also we have to shout out Mingoo has an amazing project manager named Nayoung, who was like really the glue between us and was a great translator. And we would meet like every week, and Mingoo would talk, and sometimes in English, often in Korean, and either Nadia or Nayoung would translate, and I would ask. So it was like a long process, but yeah.
Good. Okay, I have a question about your introduction to Jongkwan, the Buddhist. Is she a nun, monk?
A monk.
You can say none.
Nun.
Yes.
Okay, so you talk about this as a life-changing experience meeting Jongkwan, who is renowned for her temple-style food. And I think people here will be familiar with Jongkwan from her episode on Chef's Table, which was produced by Nadia. So Mingo, you'd already been cooking Korean food for close to like 20 years when you sought her out. Did you seek her out because you saw the episode, or she was well known in Korea already? Like, what led you to go and meet with her? And then can you talk about how your relationship with her and learning from her affected the way you cook?
Yeah, actually, I met her before Netflix.
Okay.
I'm on the Netflix. 2
Oh,
seconds.
you are?
Yeah. 2
Okay.
seconds, yeah.
You know what? If you watch really carefully, you can find Mingo in episode.
Since I opened Mingles, first 2 years was a very hard time for me because most of my experience is outside Korea. I got confidence because I have ate Korean food whole my life, but I never studying about the Korean food. So, but I got confidence because I'm Korean, so I can cook Korean food. But actually, when I started to uh, running my restaurant, I don't know about the Korean food. So first 2 year was very hard for me. Uh, my style is like the foreign chef using Korean ingredient and Western techniques with a Korean ingredient. So that's not Korean food. It may be Korean French or Korean European. So I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied with my food. So I was looking for to the teacher or someone who can teach me about Korean food. That time, Nadia actually introduced the Jongwan to me. So I went to temple. I fall in love about that atmosphere and her cooking style. So I asked her, I want to come to temple to learn about the Korean temple food. So 1.5 year, every weekend, Friday night after service, I take the train to go to temple, stay one night. Day after, from early morning to lunch, we cook the 2 meals every weekend. So that time, my friend, he's running restaurant in Los Angeles, Chef Kwang. He asked me to want to live there. So he was staying there 1 year, and 1.5 year, I went to uh, uh, temple every weekend. So that time, I inspired a lot from her. But she teach me not only about the Korean cooking technique, philosophy about the food, also way to live, how I have to deal with the seasonal ingredient as well. Yeah.
So, Nadia, can you talk about your experience with that episode, which I feel like has just reverberated like worldwide? She's become so well regarded. I can't tell you how many people have
Like, people
brought
tell
it
her
up.
she's a chef BTS.
And it's not just like Mingoo said, it's not just her way of cooking. I think it's her philosophy on life that I think resonates with so many people. Can you talk about
I
your
met
experience?
Chongguan, I think 2014 for Chef Eric Paris' show, Avec Eric, because Chef Eric want to produce 3 episodes. One was a kimchi, one is a temple food because he's a Buddhist. So I, visited all monk or non the temple food in Korea. And at the time, Chongguan was not that the popular in Korea among compared to other monks or nuns really temple food. But I love her. First of all, her food is amazing, delicious, and then I love her philosophy. So we film with her for Avec Eric. It's the first her appearance in Western media, and then after that we invite her to New York. We have a lunch, so we build up the relationship, and then New York Times article, Jeff, beautiful article. After that, I got the phone call from David Gale. We want to do episode about Chongguan. So it's the first personality is not running the fine dining chef. So it was a little challenging. Even David said probably we have beautiful shot, the chef table, but probably her food might be too humble, but totally no,
Yeah.
don't worry, But so we were invited to premiere on the Berlin Film Festival, but oh my God, in the IMAX theater, people are crying. Europeans, I ask why you're crying. But they, because of something, because of the, she tell the story about the mother, so they're so engaged individual. It's not Buddhism, it's not, So I think her episode is really showed what is not just a temple food, what is really philosophy of a Korean food, wait, appreciate, caring, love, about all people, family, also farmer ingredients. So I think her episode, people love her episode because they love the story behind it. Even it doesn't matter Buddhist, it doesn't matter religion. You don't know anything about the Korean food, but they're so inspired how we
Absolutely.
eat,
Yeah.
how appreciate the food. So after that, I got so many email from chef all over the world, Korean chef. After the episode, totally the way the chef, treat me to change. Thank you so
Oh.
much. So I saw the power of the really 1 hour
Yeah.
documentary can change a lot.
Amazing. So Jungwon is not the only female chef or Jang master in the book. You dedicate the book to 4 women: your mother, your mother-in-law, Jungwon, and master Hanchik chef Cho Hisuk. The 3 Jang makers you feature in the book are all also women. I'd like to hear more about the 3 Jang artisans, and if it was a coincidence that they're all women. And I'd like to point out that in Korea, artisan is a special designation which is endowed by the government. I think the gochujang maker had to have lived in that area for 25 years and won so many awards. Like, it's not like in the States or in Brooklyn where you can just like set up shop and call yourself an artisan maker. So the makers, I'd like to call them out, is Amisan Supti, Kwan Hye-na of Mukurum, and Hang Sunok. Yeah. Can you talk about how you chose them out of everyone?
Even I didn't realize that we are all the artisan was the female. I just realized, yeah.
Well, I will say that
Yeah.
Jang making has traditionally been a female-driven enterprise,
Yeah.
especially when it's domestic. It was from mother, it was matrilineal. So it makes
daughter-in-law.
mother, daughter-in-law, and a lot of the artisans, it's the husband whose mother was a Jang maker, and it's their wife, her daughter-in-law, who's taken over the business in the 2nd and 3rd generation. But I think to answer your question about, was it a coincidence that they're all female?
No.
No.
Yeah. First, when we decide to write about the Jang maker, the artisan is very important. So I asked one of my friend, she is in charge of the Korean gourmet magazine, cause they always traveling to whole Korea, and they meet a lot of Jang maker. So she gave us the long list. Also, and once I asked her, she decided to make a special article about the ganjang. So she invited me and Nadia and to her studio, and she prepared over 50
50 간장
50
product.
different artisan ganjang. We try
We taste
yeah,
everything.
everything for 1 hour, and we choose some. We picking that we like. Yeah, so that time was a very good experience for the vertical tasting about the about ganjang, and also that time I learned a lot about artisan ganjang. So that time we taste and we decide to choose the 3.
But we surprised, all they're different. The
Yes.
flavor or different, So that's why we were curious why they're so different, And then we try to share different story profile, kind of tell the terroir, kind of different ingredient. So the final selection is kind of represent 간장 at the same time, unique story. Yeah, so that's very interesting process.
Like Amisan Sukti, that woman, it's like it's just pretty much like the back of her house. It's like a super small production. It was, I think, her husband's mother who taught her. Mikorum, which is the
Tenjang.
tenjang.
Mhm.
East
like-
Coast, the South, yeah.
Yeah. and that is a much bigger operation, but it still starts off artisanal, but they've got warehouses, they've got forklifts, they've got all this stuff. Amasan Sukti is just this tiny village where everyone is in the same family. They've been in the same family, I think, for 600 years. It's just like a single family village. Um, and then, oftentimes a jang maker makes kanjang and doenjang, but gochujang is such a separate process. And the gochujang maker is in this area, Suncheong, which is like very well known for gochujang. And I think in that town, there's there's a gochujang museum and like an activity center, and there's like lots of little peppers, because like gochu peppers, but like with like anthropomorphized cartoon characters everywhere.
Touristic.
Yeah, it's like a touristy gochujang town.
Yeah.
But I think there might only be two master artisans, and she was one of them. And she was amazing. She, like, when we went to interview her, she was wearing normal clothes, like street clothes. And then when we shot her, she got hanbok.
Yeah, she changed outfit. It's,
Like,
you don't have to know. That's how I
Yeah,
do.
she was great.
She's very image savvy.
Yeah, but like one was really small, like super small. One was kind of like mid-size, and one's a master artisan for gochujang. But we also visited like Sempio, which is a huge conglomerate, and they make some good jang.
Also, we visited the lab, which really give a lot of information about the scientific, So also we got a lot of information from them.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we wanted to show different modalities of
So different region. One is west, one is just east, south. So we want to tell all different regions. Actually, we visited the Jeju too, but the last minute is unfortunately. But in Jeju, they, instead of using the yellow bean, they use green bean.
Green soybean.
Yes. So
I think the other thing is that, which like foregrounds this entire book, is that Jang is capable of expressing terroir, which, like, for me, who I've written a lot about wine, like that was it for me. Like, that it relies on the natural biome, that it relies on naturally occurring yeast, that it relies on the water in this area, and obviously the mold, and like that it is really an encapsulation of an area and a time, because it also relies on the sun and the salinity. You have all of the environmental factors kind of that you have with wine. And I don't think that people, because I don't know if it's been as widely understood that Jang is as expressive as it is. A lot of it has to do with human intervention, and a lot of it has to do with the environment.
Yeah. So I found when I researched making makgeolli that there's so many variables. So where you make it really impacts the flavor and taste. So there are certain areas in Korea where the kanjang or the gochujang, they have reputations for certain flavors. And I think that word terroir is really important to making kanjang and doenjang and gochujang. One word that we haven't used is fermentation. This is a fermentation process.
Well, I mean, the fermentation, that's where you inhale the biome, the naturally occurring yeasts and the bacteria, and you're getting from the meijus wrapped in these rice stalks, and like that's inoculating the meiju. And like you can have soybeans, you can import the soybeans from a different part of Korea, right? But the part that really gives a character to the jang is what Mingoo was talking about, when the meiju's laying out there and it's kind of absorbing the environment, which I think is cool.
I have another quote from the book to read you. As these jangs began to express themselves in my cooking, I found I could do less, add less, intervene less. My approach began to shift away from the Western notion of addition and towards a more Korean one, or more precisely, a Buddhist one of subtraction. What step could I remove? What ingredient could I omit? When I relied on jangs, my culinary intervention and ego was not as needed as I thought it was. And I love this because clearly this is really impacting the way you cook, and it's not just the ingredients, but it's the way you look at food.
Yeah. As I said before, uh, I uh, I have had the Korean food in my life, but when I cook Korean food, I have to have knowledge about Korean cooking. So also Mingles, the aim to open Mingles is I want to introduce Korean food, Korean cuisine to the world. Um, so I want to learn about the essence of the Korean cooking. That's the reason I'm always looking for the some essence and wanna learn about the Jang also. Yeah.
I think the other thing about you could talk about gamcho mat.
Yes.
Like gamcho mat is like deep, profound flavor, which is like a word that I think when we started this book, I think maybe we're thinking of using the word umami, which I think is more people are more familiar with. But I think it was important to all of us that we're not borrowing terms. That there's like a Korean term for this. It's called gamcho mat, and that's what Jang has. And the more you can harness that, the less you have to do to add all of this profound, it means profound flavor, deep flavor. The more you can rely on that and use that, that's where you get the chance to step back because you can let it be. It's already, the work's already done.
But if you ask what is kamchamat, not easy to describe it. Chef, can you describe it?
So I study about Jang, also, so I can make one example. When in French cooking, when you have a nice stock, you have a time, maybe the chicken stock, and you need to have 8 hours to 12 hours. If you want to have a very nice beef consomme, you need to have more than 2 days. But when you have a nice stock for Korean cooking, very light the vegetable stock, and you can add some 간장 or 된장. Cause the 간장 or 된장 have a time and effort in Jang, so just add it, add to the light stock or even the just water as Jongwan is doing. Jongwan don't use any other seasoning, only water and add Jang. That's it. But magically very tasty. So
Magic.
yeah, so Jang, that the good flavor I can call 감칠맛.
So I think it's worthwhile to clarify that the flavors and the kanjang and the tenjang and gochujang that we're talking about are not the ones that you normally get mass produced, even though they're very good at H Mart, or these are like artisanal, you know, changs that you need to find at a specialty store. So if you have been able to taste the difference, it's like the aging and the depth of flavor really come through. And I think,
But we do have a list in the book of places where you can get the strong.
Everything available in United States.
Yeah, and it's
Pretty
all
much.
available here.
Pretty much. Sometime out of stock.
But usually available.
Usually,
Yeah,
yes.
let's just
But I
go
don't
with
want to 100% guarantee. I don't want to get a complaint. Ah!
No, we didn't recommend only one brand. We
Yeah,
recommend a
but
lot of
definitely
brands.
Amazon or specialty, store, you can have one of artisan Jang on our book.
how are we doing for time?
I think it's time to go to the audience question, and then
Okay.
we'll come back. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and we'll bring the mic to you.
Hi. When you, if you think of gochujang, kangjang, doenjang, if you had to choose one dish for each to really like showcase what you think is like this, is it? Do you have kind of like an idea for what those dishes are?
In the book, you will see about normally gochujang we are pairing with the seafood or the pork, and also 간장. Normally we pair with vegetable or beef. But this is common, but not you have to do. Also, doenjang is more like the we using for the soup or the stew normally. But I use for the dessert and pastry as well. Yeah.
What is your favorite Korean restaurant in New York City?
Oh.
That's the only question that anyone wants.
And have you been to Meju in Long Island City? Meju, the restaurant.
No, I haven't. I have, cause there are so many good Korean restaurants. I can pick only one. Cause some restaurant have some their own style, the charming. Other restaurant have their own style charming. Today I had a very casual Korean food in Koreatown. That was also good. So one dubu was my favorite in New York. So other restaurant I had their noodle is my favorite. So I cannot pick only one. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
In the back.
Hello. Okay, this is what I think. This is my personal thought. Is that part of the reason why I think Korean food is also becoming more popular now is K-dramas. I think because that's what drew me to watch Korean food. During the stay-at-home mandate, I watched a lot of K-dramas, and especially late at night. And there's a lot of food in K-dramas, and my question was always, "Ooh, what is that?" And I'm not kidding. I wrote down notes. And I wrote down lists, and soon as everything opened back up again, the first thing I did was go to 32nd Street, and I was like, okay, I have my list. What am I gonna try? I'm gonna try, and I went one down the list, and then after a while of trying it, I was like, oh, how do they cook this? So to me, it led me to start like experimenting with different ingredients to want to recreate some of the things that I saw at on the television and some of the things that I actually ate in a restaurant. But one of the things you mentioned that when you put the gochujang, you don't have to do that much. Yes, but also this is one thing I noticed about this is the difference between like a lot of like American cooking and Korean cooking. I noticed a lot of American cooking, they have like a whole spice rack. You go to the house, they have dry spices, seasonings that are made up in companies. And then when I started studying Korean cooking, I noticed that there wasn't so much of that. There was more vegetables doing the seasoning. So I think that's part of the reason why you can just use the gochujang, because you have all of the vegetables doing all of the heavy lifting. I don't know if that's a question. That's more like a state, whatever. But so that's I was like, oh, okay, that's So it's just basically appreciation.
Yeah, there's a great pantry section in this cookbook, and just the way that you take the kanjang or the doenjang, and you can roast it and turn it into powder or dilute it into different ratios. It's a real revelation.
I think that's the chef's favorite chapter is the Jang variation.
Yeah. This is not the restaurant, the fine dining cookbook. This is more like the casual and the daily home cooking recipe. But there are one part is we call Jang variation or Jang pantry. I put the restaurant secret is here. So very easy ratio you can see. So when you want to cook seafood with the gochujang or seafood with the 간장 or gochujang, like the 4 gochujang, 1 vinegar, and 1 oil, 1 sugar, like that. So very easy recipe. So you can make the bunch of that Jang pantry, and you can leave in your refrigerator for 1 month and 2 months. You can use it for
We call it magic sauce.
Yeah.
And that was like by far the most difficult chapter to write, because it's just like, I feel like in Western cookbooks for sure, sometimes you have a pantry, but these are like a lot of the recipes call for these compound, like matganjang or chojang or whatever. Like they call for the compound versions of chang, and like to get a reader to walk along with you to understand, like, okay, I'm gonna have to make this thing. It's easy to make, but I'm gonna have to make this one marinade before I can like go off and that was a heavy lift. But I also think that the book, like the reaction that we've had so far, I feel very hopeful and happy that there is an audience for this, and people are thirsty or hungry, depending on whether it's kanjang or doenjang, for like knowledge and appreciation. And I think like what Mingoo was doing with Hanshik at Mingles, like what Rene Redzepi was doing with Nordic food at Noma, it's like it's all about recognizing the richness of what you have and the culture that you come from, even if, at least in Western eyes, in the case of Korean food, like it hasn't it's not getting the respect on its name that it should. And I think that like this book, I hope, starts to bring that respect to it, as kind of like a middle finger to the establishment that like doesn't just thinks it's too difficult or too ethnic or too extreme. It's like that, it's such a, I don't know.
There's one recipe in the book I really need to ask you about, and it's the white rice recipe, because it seems so easy to make. And usually the argument is, do you measure it with your hand or do you use a cup? But Mingoo measures, but not just measures. You need a digital scale. You need a sieve. You need to do math like subtraction and tare weights. And it was so charming and kind of like ridiculous to me that I had to make rice straight away when I read that. And I kid you not, it was the most like revelatory like pot of rice I have ever made. It brought out so many flavors that I did not realize that rice had flavor. And now that's the only way I make rice. But I also think it really reveals a lot about your personality because you're so precise and maybe says something about your cooking as well.
Yes.
Yes.
He only thinks in grams. Like, like
Oh my god, recipe. Oh my god.
There are two reasons actually, because in our restaurant we have a young chef that they haven't had the experience about the Korean cooking, so I need to work with them. So I have to make a very nice system to keeping the good consistency for our food. So I'm sure this recipe is very really work well, because at least I made 5 or 10 times each recipe. Also, we had a recipe tester in New York City.
yes, he made a lot of he did it a lot.
Even the cucumber, a different size in Korea and United States,
Yes.
because he tested it in Korea, but he's so freaked out. Oh, cucumber size is different in United States and Korea, so I need to retest test it. Oh my god, Mingo, it's fine.
We call 손맛. How can I say the 손맛?
손맛 is
It's like the grandmother's secret recipe. Also, we don't
not measuring, just
not
kind
measuring.
of.
So when I learned from my mother about Korean cooking, she teach me, but she didn't give me the exact recipe or the amount. So, but in our restaurant, I have to serve the right food for every guest. So I decided to use the scale, also keeping consistency. So sometimes, simple ingredient and like the white rice is very hard to make. So I just use the gram.
Oh, chef, I have.
And the other
Do
thing,
you cook the same way at home? The
No,
rice?
no,
No?
the other thing is like I work on a lot of cookbooks, and like every chef uses grams. Like it's just such an easy. It drives me crazy that editors are always like, we want tablespoons and teaspoons and cups. It's like, yeah, or you can get one digital scale, and it's like $20, and that or less or whatever, and grams and everything is so much easier by weight. It's crazy that that not every cookbook is in grams.
Yeah, but when I don't use the scale at home, sometimes my wife the rice is better than me. Yeah, so
Oh.
yeah, better I use the scale at home.
Yeah.
One question from the viewer. You said that you tasted a lot of different changs and then chose what was your favorite. So what is a good chang to you? What is the criteria of what is a good chang?
There, so depends on the artisan. So all jang is a different character. So I cannot picking the best jang for me, but good jang is the have to get a lot of care from the maker. So if the jang maker didn't care much about the jang, so 좀 too funky smell is coming. So that's not good jang. So once we taste the 50 different ganjang, that time some of them was too strong and too funky. So we didn't picking that artisan. Yeah.
First was too salty.
Yeah.
I don't think that's good jang. Pretty much all the jang we
balance.
love is
Yeah.
very balanced.
Yes.
And then with clean flavor in the last, not really too stay real salty, taste. That's all we have the same common. Do you like this jang? Yes. No, it's kind of, that's why we have a common.
I think we have time for one last question.
Hi, so you referenced that incredible dessert, the Chang Trio, at your restaurant. I've been to your restaurant so many times, and it's so good, everyone, so you must go. But every time I go, I ask, can I just eat the dessert? And they politely tell me no. But I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with that concept, and why did you think it would work in the dessert?
Yeah. Actually, the Jang creme brulee, doenjang creme brulee recipe is in the book. First, when we open our restaurant, our restaurant is very small kitchen. We didn't have a pantry section, so I have to do everything. So I grill the meat, and once the guests want to have a dessert, I go to I just next the grill we have a freezer. I serve the dessert. So that time I had to make a dessert as well. So I want to play with the savory jang ingredient to the dessert. So creme brulee is very popular for everybody. So I add jang there. So jang give a 감칠맛, a lot of deep flavor and savory flavor. Also, it come very well with the dairy product, cause dairy product and the doenjang, also their base is protein base. One is the milk base. Also, one is the bean base. Bean base. Both are go very well with the dairy product. So I playing with the jang with the dairy product together. So it come out very good. Yeah.
So, like I said, I think my favorite part of this cookbook, there are great recipes, but the pantry really, really shines. Just for me, knowing, this is, I can make my own samjang, I can, put together my own, like vinegary, gochujang. All those things make me very happy because there's a lot of questioning. I don't really know exactly what those things are, so sometimes I just buy it. But the best thing about your book is that you do recommend the more manufactured, mass-produced changs and the more artisanal ones so that you know exactly which ones they've selected. And I'm going to read a few of the recipes in the book, and then I'd like all three of you to give one recipe that you would recommend that people try from the book. So there's the dubu endive salad with sesame kanjang dressing, kanjang granola yogurt, kanjang 백솥 떡볶이, 버섯 떡볶이, 된장 hummus, 된장 짜장면, 된장 barbecue lamb with couscous, 된장 vanilla creme brulee, gochujang pulled pork sandwich, seared scallops with spicy spinach salad, gochujang chocolate mousse.
Oh,
Cookbooks are for sale.
what's your favorite?
But not even favorite, but you would recommend or,
one,
you know?
one thing really, cause I'm not only want to talking about Korean the cooking book. I want to introduce Jang's possibility. Jang can work with the every cuisine. Gochujang pulled pork barbecue, the sandwich, which is really good. It's here, yeah, in the middle. It's the normal pulled pork barbecue. We just add the gochujang. It's come out complete different result you will have. Yeah, that's the Jang's magic. Yeah.
My favorite two, one is endive,
Mm.
and then the marinade lamb. Doenjang with the lamb is amazing. That's my two favorite.
There's a gochujang barbecue with pork and gochujang, and he made it on a big green egg, and I made it on my smoker, and it was the best pork I've ever made in my life.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.